a character often overlooked in the new Fallout TV series, but with a major impact on the trajectory of the show is a man named Siggy Wilzig. Now, a lot of you young punks might not realize just who the actor is that is playing Mr. Wilzig. His name is Michael Emerson. He had an iconic role in one of the greatest TV shows of all time, a little show called Lost. He was brilliant in that show as the evil genius. His bulging eyes, ooh, I can see it now, his bulging eyes, the way he talked, his overall demeanor, it all gave such a quiet and chilling credence to the character. He was also one of the best actors on the show, along with Terry O'Quinn, and it was such a joy and delight when I saw him pop up on the screen in Fallout. Now, episode 1 of Fallout was pretty good. We met Lucy, we met Maximus, we met the Ghoul, but as soon as Michael Emerson shows up in episode 2 as Siggy Wilzig, I knew the show was going to reach a whole nother level. The casting choice to have Mr. Emerson in the show just speaks of an excellently crafted show. Shortly before Mr. Wilzig emerges on the screen for the first time, we see another scientist throwing a puppy into the incinerator because it did not weigh enough. And audiences the world over were asking themselves, how's that for a hot dog? When we first see him on the screen, he is looking at the other scientist briefly that has just incinerated a puppy. He then leaves the research lab with a dog, and he injects something into his head that we later find out is the cold fusion technology that the Ghoul mouthed over the Brotherhood that they are all seeking. So in those first few moments on the screen, without really saying a word, Mr. Emerson has already established himself as a figure with some level of authority and some level of knowledge, and it just goes to show you how brilliant of an actor Mr. Emerson is to be able to convey all this without hardly even saying a word. Wow. He then escapes the research facility. He meets Mrs. Okie Dokie, and in his interaction with Lucy, he delivers an apt description of Lucy's situation outside of her vault. You come from a world of rules, of laws. This place is indifferent to all of that. Well, Lucy comes back and she says, I'm not leaving until I find my dad. Then Mr. Wilzig proceeds to pose a question that strikes at the very core of the challenges that the wasteland will present for Lucy. He tells her if she intends to stay, she will have to adapt. And then he poses this question. Will you still want the same things when you have become a different animal altogether? So there we have it. In the first 12 minutes of the second episode of the Fallout TV series, Siggy has established himself as a scientist with a pretty high level of gravitas. And he's painted a picture of himself as a mysterious scientist that the audience can't help but want to know more about. And Michael Emerson, he's done all this subtly, brilliantly, with very few words uttered. He's done this with facial expressions and body language, as only he could deliver. Once again, I must remark upon what an excellent casting choice this was. He then meets Lucy in Philly, and he reveals more of his in-depth knowledge, describing Vault 33 to her in some detail. The Ghoul shoots his foot off, and we hear Michael Emerson very expertly deliver some ohs, and he really shows us that he's in a lot of pain, and he does it brilliantly. Well-delivered, painful groans. A chorus of well-delivered, painful groans. He then gets Lucy to attempt to guide him to Maldever, and as they traverse the desert, he stops. He realizes he's not going to be able to make the journey. He takes a cyanide pill and has Lucy chop off his head, a brave, selfless act that just may save the Fallout world. And ultimately, Episode 2 of the Fallout TV series belonged to Michael Emerson. He dies delivering a heartfelt and motivational speech to Lucy, and to top it all off, to perfectly encapsulate the great knowledge that this scientist had, to perfectly show you just how shrouded in mystery the man was. The final thing that he reveals to Lucy is the fact that he knows her name.